Envision better aging. How can Central Oregon adapt to the needs of an aging population? My name is Blair Garland, Senior Director of Community Relations and Marketing at OSU Cascades, which is City Club's community partner and education annual sponsor. And I'm honored to serve this year as your City Club Board President. I'd like to take a moment to thank our other annual sponsors. Without their support, we would not be able to bring our community together for important conversations such as this one. Even in this challenging year, our annual sponsors have stepped forward to be exceptionally supportive and engaged in our community. So please join me in giving a virtual round of applause to our platinum sponsors, St. Charles Health System and Brooks Resources. Our gold sponsors, ASI Wealth Management, Pacific Source Health Plans, and First Interstate Bank. Our partner in higher education and workforce development, COCC. And our silver sponsors, Ameriprise Financial, BBT Architects, Kittleson and Associates, Miller Lumber, Mosaic Medical, the Lucier Center, Transformation Systems International, and US Bank. Today's forum sponsors are Pinnacle Architecture, Greenwich and Berlin LLP, and the Lodge and Sisters. And here's what they had to say about their sponsorships. Pinnacle Architecture designs senior living communities that feel like home and provide seniors with independence and dignity. We are proud to sponsor this conversation on better aging in Central Oregon. Greenwich and Berlin LLP is proud to sponsor an event that focuses on bettering the lives of our older residents and continues to focus our legal representation, community involvement, and work for and on behalf of this important and growing segment of our community. The Lodge and Sisters is proud to offer the best amenities and highest quality care in Sisters in the surrounding area. We're proud to offer fun social outlets, 62 beautiful apartments, and assistance when the time is right. Come see us for a tour. Today's live stream is also made possible by our partnership with Connect Central Oregon, a nonprofit launched with the assistance of the OSU Cascades Innovation Collab. Now on to today's program. The world's population is aging at an unprecedented rate. In Central Oregon, the population of adults over the age of 65 is forecast to grow by 55% from 2016 to 2040. So how can we create an age-friendly community? Let's think about housing, transportation, lifelong learning, intergenerational workforce, and inclusive social connections. Who are the older people in our midst? What roles can our local cities and nonprofits take in facilitating an age-friendly region? What can individuals do to prepare for better aging? Our panel will help you learn about growing older better in Central Oregon. Today's moderator is Scott Cooper. Scott has been the executive director of NeighborImpact, the community action agency serving Crook, Deschutes, and Jefferson counties and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs since September of 2012. He is also the president of the Community Action Partnership of Oregon, the state association of 18 community action agencies working together to fight poverty. Scott has worked in the nonprofit sector at federal, state, and local levels for nearly 40 years. He has also been a local elected official in 1997. He is currently the chair of the Crook County School Board, on which he has served for 12 years. He served 2 terms as county judge in Crook County and was a Prineville city councilor and council president. He recently was appointed by Governor Kate Brown to the Regional Equity and Recovery Task Force. And under previous governors, he has served on the Oregon State Housing Council, the Oregon Commission on Children and Families, the state task forces on tax structure, poverty, education, and transportation. He is a graduate of the world's oldest school of journalism at the University of Missouri-Columbia. He and his family live in his childhood home, Prineville. Scott, I pass the microphone to you.
I can't seem to get myself unmuted. Good afternoon, Central Oregon. Thanks for joining us. Thank you very much for that introduction, Blair. We're looking forward to a really fun program this afternoon. I want to say my experience with aging is not all that great. You know, it didn't go well for me when I started the conversation. My grandmother asked me one day, many decades ago, when does a person get old? And I think I said 40. And that I kind of paid the price for that for quite a while, learned that maybe I should be careful about saying such things. Today, we do want to take a minute before we start and acknowledge our technology team that has put this event on. You would think after a year of living through COVID, we would know how to live on the edge. But today we really learned how to live on the edge when nothing worked and the network went down just as we were starting this program. And there was lots of scrambling, and we wondered at one point if we would have a program. And they did an amazing job of getting us reconnected into a new network and getting us going. So we're good to go, but sorry about the little bit of a delay that we had. It was just unavoidable. Certainly something I don't think we want to go through again. So today we have an exciting conversation to have about senior living. We're going to start off with something called a Menti poll. Now, I hope many of you have done Menti before, but if you haven't, this is your opportunity. You want to find a device, a smartphone, a computer, whatever you've got, and you want to log into Menti, MENTI.com. Do we have that slide, control room?
This is Scott from the control room. Because of our backup scenario, we won't be using Menti right now. The questions are being asked in the comments section of YouTube.
All right, so we're abandoning Menti. See, we're going to have a lot of bumpy roads today with the tech, but we're going to get over them. We're all going to get the end together. The question that we're asking you to think about is, what does it take to age better? What does aging look like here in Central Oregon? Our panel today is going to discuss aging from a policy and personal perspective as those two intertwine. And we'll also hear about a groundbreaking new living situation in Redmond that recently began construction and is working on making aging a societal asset. And we'll hear from a passionate volunteer advocate about the part purpose plays in better aging. But to frame that discussion, we want you to think about and enter in the comments on YouTube if you can, or the comments on Zoom. If you knew you were going to live to be 100, and there's a good chance you will be, you'll hear about that in a little bit, name one thing you would do differently. You got 100 years of regrets and you get to fix one of them. So what would you do if you knew you were going to live to be 100? While you do that and you think big thoughts about your past, we're going to have Susan Rotella speak to you for about 10 minutes. Susan is the Executive Director of the Council on Aging, which has its headquarters located in Bend, but serves the entire region. She's held that position for the past 4 years. Prior to the Council on Aging, Susan spent 14 years as an executive officer and a consultant for nonprofit and for-profit healthcare and senior living organizations in the United States and Canada. She is an expert on her subject. She has her finger on the pulse of the senior situation in Central Oregon, and we're proud to have her with us today. Susan, you've got your 10 minutes.
Great. Thank you so very much, Scott. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today to explore the challenges and the opportunities for us to build a Central Oregon in which we can all age well. Thank you to the City Club for hosting this important conversation. I am Susan Rotella, Executive Director of the Council on Aging of Central Oregon. May I have the next slide, please? So to get us started, I'd like to pose another challenge in addition to the Menti poll, a challenge to our community. How can we all work together to make aging in Central Oregon fulfilling, safe, and with the right supports for all of us now and in the future? Please try to hold this question in your mind as you hear from all of the various speakers today. Next slide. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at some stats or some statistics on how the population is aging in Oregon. Next slide, please. In Oregon, like most of the United States, we are getting older and rapidly. How can we take advantage of this aging phenomena? In this chart, which is coming, there she is. In this chart, the top two lines show the impact of workforce potential for seniors. As many seniors are working past the standard retirement age or the old traditional retirement age of 65. And this is good news. One, for our economy, which will not lose all of the wisdom and the knowledge of these workers, and also for seniors' pocketbooks, because we're living longer and our savings are not exactly keeping up with the number of years that we have left to spend. So Having older adults stay in the workforce longer is beneficial for our society, for both the older adults and for our economy. The bottom two lines show how the future growth in by age group and why we will need more services, infrastructure, and supports. We're living longer and longer, and those, as we'll learn shortly, those that are in the 80+ category are living with many more chronic illnesses and need many more supports. Next slide, please. This stat is one of my favorite because it was shocking to me when I first found it and going through population stats in Oregon. It points to the remarkable shift in how in our local communities, we are changing from young families to now having more folks over the age of 65 than we have children under the age of 18. So there are more older people in Central Oregon over 65 than we currently have under 18. And obviously that has a lot of implications for our society and our economy. Next slide, please. If we take a closer look at our tri-county numbers, you can see that we are already at 1 in 5 of our neighbors are over, or 20% are over 65 years of age in Deschutes County. And 1 in 4, or 25% of our population in Crook and Jefferson counties is over 65. In Central Oregon, we're actually aging at a rate greater than the state of Oregon, which 18.2% of the population is currently over 65, and the United States in general, where only 16.5% of the population is currently over 65. So this is currently today, 20 to 25% of our population in Central Oregon is over the age of 65. Next slide, please. I'd like to briefly turn to some of the challenges that come with the shift in aging in our communities. And this is only the beginning of the conversation. We could probably have a 2-hour conversation on both the challenges and opportunities of aging, but I'm just going to touch on a few of them. May I have the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Thank you. As we age, we have an increasing chance of having one or more chronic conditions that will influence the quality of our lives. Around 65, most of us will remain fairly healthy, but by 85, we have a good chance of having reduced capacity in many areas, from declining vision and declining hearing to loss of physical stamina to poor health. Heart disease and dementia are two of the greatest health capacities that we lose as we age. The likelihood of having a disability goes up with age. The highest criteria for getting dementia is just living longer. So it is good news and bad news. Next page, please. Poverty and near poverty drive many needs in our aging population. In the United States, more than 9% of those over 65 and almost 12% of those over 80 live in poverty today in the United States. In Central Oregon, we're seeing increasing numbers of older adults with housing and food insecurity. Many seniors in our own communities face difficulties with accessing nutritious and sufficient food, affordable medical care, safe housing, and accessible transportation, all of which are impacted by our financial status. The more money we have, the more choices we have, and the less challenge we have with food, medical care, safe housing, and accessible transportation. But if you have a community of older adults that is increasing in poverty as they age, they're going to become more and more dependent on our communities for health and getting help and getting these important supports. Did you know that basic Medicare does not currently cover dental, vision, or hearing expenses? Many people also think if I get older and I need to go into a community setting, that Medicare will be covering these expenses. And that is not accurate. Unless you're coming out of a hospital and have an acute illness that you're recovering from, you have a limited number of days, but you do not have the opportunity to have Medicare cover your long-term care when you're going into a community setting. Next slide, please. Research finds that loneliness is a growing epidemic with higher health risks than obesity and as damaging as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We see this year in this pandemic. We at the Council on Aging have seen this in spades. Many of our older adults are living at home, especially seniors that are women, where since their life expectancy is higher, 45% of women by the age of 75 live alone. And many of these seniors, especially in this pandemic, have not had the ability to see family, friends, and we all think, but they can use Zoom and they can use email and FaceTime, but there's a digital divide, and many of our seniors don't have the money to invest in computers and broadband support needed to keep connected with the greater world. 1 out of 7 people lives with Alzheimer's disease alone. And loneliness is linked to a 40% increase in a senior's ability or propensity to get dementia. Next slide. So what are some of the opportunities we have with a larger portion of our community over the age of 65? Next slide. We have a lot of potential seniors, as I mentioned earlier, to keep in our workforce past 65. They come with a lot of wisdom, experience, and capacity to help solve problems and to mentor others. Next slide. Seniors are also an important source of support to young people. They can provide much needed childcare services, and there is an increasing growth in the number of young people being raised by grandparents in our society. Heather will be sharing an excellent example in her presentation of intergenerational support. Next slide. We have a strong pay it forward ethic in our elder population, and we are hoping that that generosity can help make a dent in our persistent problems by committed and active community members. We see this every day at the Council on Aging, where the majority of our Meals on Wheels volunteers are over the age of 65. Betsy will be also talking in greater detail about the benefits and the opportunities for seniors in volunteerism. Next slide. A bit about the Council on Aging as I end my presentation. Next slide, please. We've been serving seniors and their families for over 45 years in the Tri-County area. Our mission is to provide information, resources, and direct services to Central Oregon older adults so that they can age independently at home in the communities that they love. Over 90% of older adults, when polled year after year by AARP, say they want to stay living at home in their community and in the home that they grew up loving. And our mission at the Council on Aging is to help them to do that securely and independently and safely. Next slide, please. We support 14,000 individuals in a typical year. We focus our efforts on those with the most need. We are the first place families turn to help find a senior help. From our information specialists to our nutrition services to helping folks stay at home safely for as long as they can, we are here to help. Next page. We also work hard to keep unpaid caregivers, who number 50 million in the United States right now, support to help them help their loved ones stay home and safe. unpaid caregivers, family caregivers, without which the United States would have an incredibly large investment in home care services that would be required. Most of the home care that is provided in the United States to older adults is provided by family and loved ones. We also help connect those that are lonely with volunteers in a program we have called Caring Connections, and we support seniors to navigate complex issues like Medicare coverage and legal challenges as they age. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we focus a lot of our efforts on those who need help the most, those that are most financially and socially at need. Here are some of the highlights from our fiscal 2020 year. Along with our senior center partners throughout Central Oregon, we delivered 90,000 meals through our Meals on Wheels program. We served almost 45,000 lunches to seniors. And starting in this past year, most of them were through a pivot program from community sit-down lunches to drive-through and grab a lunch because we were not able to have our seniors back in the community setting at our senior centers. We've answered almost 14,000 calls to our offices, and we've funded 12,000 hours of home and personal care services for those seniors who are above the Medicaid level, but are not able financially to support the 20 or 30 hours a month of care that would help them to stay at home. But we know many more seniors need our help. Next page. In summary, I believe we can all work together to make aging in Central Oregon fulfilling, safe, and with the right supports for all of us now and in the future. I hope you can join us in this important endeavor. We need all of you to make it happen. Thank you again for your time and interest today. And I have provided our contact information, our website, and our phone number for those of you who might have a loved one who needs support. We're here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And for all of you out there who thought you weren't going to live to be 100, now you know from Susan's data that you're most certainly probably going to live to be 100. So what are you going to wish you had done? That was our previous poll, and you had some actually fairly consistent answers from what we could read in the YouTube chat. Many of you want to exercise more. Some of you wish you had reduced stress. Some of you wish you had saved more. Some of you wished you had learned more. Travel was a positive. No one said they wanted to work more, but several people said they wanted to work less. I loved wear sunscreen. Yeah, that probably was a good idea. But my favorite one by far that came out of the chat was eat dessert first. So I think that's good life advice for all of us. So our next speaker is Toni Landis, who is a dynamo of a Sisters resident. If you haven't met her yet, she is a force of nature in and of herself. She is an elder advocate for 30 years, a retired rancher and Deschutes County contractor, and a founding member of the nonprofit Age-Friendly Sisters Country, fostering active and inclusive living for all ages in Sisters. Toni, tell us about aging in Sisters and your cool concepts. And you're on mute, Toni.
Okay, thank you, Scott, and thank you, Ben City Club, for this opportunity. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
You're good.
In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain the origins and purpose of our Age-Friendly Sisters Country nonprofit, to outline the path we took in helping sisters become an age-friendly city, and showcase 2 of our volunteer programs. Age-Friendly Sisters Country, or AFSC, was formed as a nonprofit with the intent of responding to unmet needs and gaps in service in our rural community, as well as in response to the changing demographic in Central Oregon that has been referred to by Susan. We use the term Sisters Country to define our service area, which encompasses our school district, west from Sisters to Camp Sherman and east to Tumalo. Our path to facilitating World Health designation for Sisters as an age-friendly city was clearly delineated by our AFSC mission, actions of local citizens, and long-range city planning. We currently support 2 successful AFSC programs or action teams, addressing areas crucial to age-friendly livability in Sisters. Next slide, please. The Age-Friendly movement is a worldwide network of communities committed to the idea of livability for all ages. There are 500 communities in the US currently certified as age-friendly. 7 of those are in Oregon, with Sisters being the first city east of the Cascades to be certified. This international movement fit the goals we had as a community and as an organization. We're very proud of having helped our city achieve this milestone. As the name implies, the Age-Friendly Sisters Country focus is firmly structured around the age-friendly model. Our mission is to serve as a launch pad, transforming resident ideas into actions, further enhancing livability in Sisters Country. With the help of AARP and the support of the mayor and city council, AFSC was able to facilitate World Health Organization certification of Sisters as an age-friendly city in 2019. Next slide, please. An age-friendly community looks at livability in terms of 8 domains: housing, outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, communication and information, civic participation, respect and social inclusion, health services, and social participation. When the intent is to meet needs and improve services within these 8 domains, a community remains healthy and livable for all ages and all abilities. Next slide, please. In 2017, one senior's struggle with an urgent care issue was the impetus for a movement to identify unmet needs and gaps in services in Sisters Country. Our resident group took up this task and over several years amassed a large body of data pinpointing issues and needs. With data in hand, 7 enthusiastic, willing volunteers incorporated as Age-Friendly Sisters Country in 2018, recognized by the state as a nonprofit the following year. 2 actions happened concurrently. AFSC was formed, choosing the age-friendly structure within which to address identified needs and services, and a year-long Sisters visioning resulted in the 2019 City Plan for Sisters. These 2 complemented each other and led to AFSC's assistance in helping Sisters achieve one goal of that 2019 plan, that of becoming recognized as an age-friendly city. An important result of this collaborative effort is that our community has begun to view change and improvement in quality of life through an age-friendly lens. That AFSC has been able to accomplish so much in our 2 years of existence and in the face of the COVID pandemic is due in large part to our passionate volunteers, aided by generous and flexible funding received from AARP, St. Charles, and the Ford Family Foundation. Next slide, please. AFSC's first action team formed to focus on the lack of transportation options in our community. STARS, or Sisters Transportation and Rideshare, provides free ride service for any resident of Sisters Country to non-emergency medical appointments. Supported by a generous private donation plus grants from the City of Sisters, the Roundhouse Foundation, and C4C, or Citizens for Community, STARS launched March 1st, 2020. 1 week prior to COVID pandemic shutdown. We put driver health protocols in place per CDC guidelines, created kits with free personal protection equipment for willing drivers, and expanded our software to accommodate our changing world. In other words, we learned to tap dance. Any resident can call our STARS number to schedule a ride for a medical appointment Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Trained and vetted volunteer drivers donate their time and gas, serving the Sisters, Redmond, and Bend Triangle. Volunteer dispatchers answer a dedicated phone line Tuesdays and Thursdays, scheduling rides using online software tailored for our volunteer efforts. To date, we have trained and vetted over 30 volunteer drivers, booked 391 rides to medical or vaccination appointments for over 50 passengers. We are pleased that as of this February, STARS drivers have also been able to assist the Council on Aging with delivery of over 100 meals to isolated seniors in our area. Next slide, please. Sisters Villages Action Team, our second program, was formed to develop and deepen social connections and facilitate networks of volunteer mutual aid. This village concept provides intergenerational social connection. Neighborly services are organized by self-identified geographic areas. Tollgate Village became the first pilot project under our Sisters Villages Action Team umbrella. Over time, AFSC intends to promote this village concept and help willing volunteer leaders coordinate other villages in Sisters Country. This project was also challenged by the COVID pandemic. Social isolation is often associated with serious health risks for seniors, as Susan has already pointed out. As much as possible, programs are being offered through the villages to provide neighborhood interaction, carefully staged with CDC guidelines dictating the logistics of these necessarily outdoor events. Again, we have learned to tap dance. Next slide, please. We are excited to see the new CET curb-to-curb free transportation 1 day a week for Sisters residents to shop in Bend. AFSC collaborated with Hayden Homes to purchase and place adult exercise equipment in Mackenzie Village Park. We eagerly support the new and expanding website, Sisters Country Community Connects, now a bilingual source of information for our community. Over time, AFSC intends to promote the village concept and help it spread throughout Sisters Country as volunteers express an interest in coordinating a project in their neighborhood. Next slide, please. AFSC is a small and agile group with a can-do attitude and generous funding structured to allow us to move quickly and creatively during this COVID pandemic. We are ready and willing to help others foster livability in their communities. You can see some contact information on the screen. We're happy to talk with anyone about what we're doing, how we can help your community reach out and move forward to help all ages in the community, but especially our aging seniors. Thank you for your time today and your interest. I appreciate that very much. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Toni. Words you're not going to hear very often for this next speaker as I introduce her. Born and raised in Bend. Yes, that does exist out there. Heather is grateful to be raising 3 young children in her hometown and feels passionately that all who want to enjoy the quality of life that Central Oregon offers should be able to do so in a safe and supportive, engaged, and connected community. She believes in being a good neighbor to our more vulnerable populations. She previously served on the board of directors for CASA of Central Oregon, chaired the recent capital campaign to rebuild the Bethlehem Inn, manages the Tenant Charitable Fund, and is proud to be a partner with Bridge Meadows to welcome a new campus to Central Oregon this fall. Heather Salveson, tell us more.
I would be delighted to do that for you. I wish I could see all of your faces, but I appreciate you joining us for this important conversation. And as many of you know, I have had the pleasure of working with a lot of local nonprofits. It really is a treat to be here with you today and not ask you for money. I'm sure you feel the same. I'm going to pretend that you're all laughing right now too. Anyways, I did have the privilege of growing up here, and I am proud that we are good neighbors to one another, to our more vulnerable populations, and to our neighbors at every age and in every season of life. I'm very honored to partner with Bridge Meadows and see them expand into Central Oregon. This is a conversation that has been years in the making. We've been dreaming and envisioning what is about to happen here this fall. So you are asking, I'm sure, what is Bridge Meadows? And the more important question is, who is Bridge Meadows? And with the next slide, I will tell you more. It is an intergenerational model of 3 generations living and thriving together, where foster children, their forever families who adopt them, and elders, all of whom are at risk for isolation, can do life together. Their vision statement is a world where all generations are cherished. Isn't that wonderful? Next slide, please. The mission statement of Bridge Meadows is to develop and sustain intentional intergenerational communities for youth formerly in foster care, their adoptive families, and elders, building place, permanence, and shared social purpose, one community at a time. In preparing for this conversation today, it wasn't the first time that it occurred to me that America, in the US, we are somewhat unique in our eagerness and our willingness to almost worship independence. Would you agree with that? Other countries, such as European countries and many Asian cultures, they cohabitate together on a multi-generational level. Their children are raised with, supported and influenced with cousins and aunties and uncles and grandparents. You've seen that model in other cultures, and it works beautifully. We've come a long way from that. Somehow we have forgotten that we were created for connection and we were created to do life together. I continually daydream about a commune situation where I can live with like-minded parents and mothers and grandparents, to have that support, that wisdom, that influence, and that help. We all need that at one point or another. Next slide, please. So the Bridge Meadows program is based on combining 3 factors that improve quality of life: housing stability, relationships, and health. Now, housing stability is the foundation of the entire program. Affordable, safely designed, quality housing ensures that children, their families, and elders have the stable homes they need to thrive. Intergenerational community creates a sense of belonging. It reduces stress, and it provides a safety net for all 3 generations. Next slide, please. Now, you'll notice in the statistic here that there are 150,000 elders living alone in Oregon. We've already talked a little bit about that today, and this statistic was taken before COVID. Bridge Meadows addresses multiple social issues with this community-based solution. The families that are raising youth currently or formerly in foster care often feel isolated and they need support, as do many elders struggling with social isolation, which we've also talked about today. All 3 generations need a place to belong. We are all aging. As I told my 2-year-old this morning, some days more rapidly than others. But the truth is, we all have skin in the game, and we all need to be invested in this conversation. We all want to belong. And this model of doing life together restores dignity in a beautiful way. I'll tell you more here with the next slide. Next slide, please, control room. Thank you. Actually, I think we're skipped one. Can you go back? Thank you. Perfect. So Bridge Meadows does not just provide affordable housing, as you'll see from this lovely diagram. The therapeutic services that are offered include a one-on-one mental health support system, therapeutic group circles tailored to each generation's needs, and case management. Elders can even receive education on how to help them mentor children who have experienced trauma. Next slide, please. So how does this work? Imagine a campus of mixed-use housing, townhomes and single-family homes for the families, and apartments for the elders. The children and families are referred to Bridge Meadows through the Child Welfare Department. The families are referred or in the process of becoming the forever families to these children. The elders come on their own. You'll see here they are 55 years and older with an income range of 30% of average median income to 60% of average median income. I love the model you'll see here. In return for the subsidized housing that Bridge Meadows offers the elders, they commit to 400 hours of service per year. They support each other as well as the family. So just imagine with me, a group of foster children that have been bounced around from home to home their whole lives. And here they come to Bridge Meadows and they've been adopted, and they come home from school and their parents are maybe both working. And so they're welcomed by grandparent role models and figures that can teach them how to bake cookies and teach them how to play the piano, and who might help them learn another language. And just the beauty that that creates and the richness for both populations is so special. And I love that they have that service, and they can also provide service hours for one another. So if someone's driving still and someone's not driving and they need errands or medication picked up, it's just a great way, again, to do life together. It's a phenomenal model. Next slide, please. You will see here, elders at Bridge Meadows report an average score of 81% on the flourishing scale. I love that. 70% of elders report receiving significant emotional, social, and tangible support from the Bridge Meadows community, and 85% of elders report an increase in social connection and meaning and purpose due to their volunteer activities with children, parents, and other elders, as I just mentioned. Another huge statistic not listed on this slide, especially in our current housing market in Central Oregon, is that 90% of Bridge Meadows youth, parents, and elders maintain stable housing, which is wonderful. Next slide. So a little bit of history with Bridge Meadows. Could I trouble you for the next slide, please? I'm a real high maintenance kind of gal, as many of you know. You'll see here, so Bridge Meadows was founded in 2005. They welcomed home their first residents in Portland, in North Portland, in 2011. And the second Bridge Meadows community opened up in 2017 in Beaverton, Oregon. After several years now of relationship building, dreaming, fundraising, and incredible vision, a third Bridge Meadows campus will open in October of this year in Redmond, Oregon. I'm pausing for your applause. You can go to the next slide, please. On this next slide, you'll see a graphic of what this campus will look like, and a big thank you to Hayden Holmes. He's already been mentioned once today. But in Redmond, he had the appropriate parcel of land that was zoned for affordable housing, and he has accommodated, along with many other community partners, our incredible campus. It's coming in October of this year. It will have 10 family homes and 26 affordable apartments for elders. It will also feature 7 market rate apartments for elders. Please stay tuned for the grand opening. I will give you more information on that. We'd love to invite you to save the date to come and celebrate this new campus with us. They are hiring even, and they have a lot of information on their website about the opening and the hiring. Next slide, please. This just shows some great images of some of the campuses, and you can just see, I mean, what a place to call home. Next slide, please. There are currently 150 people living in Bridge Meadows communities, which will grow to 230 when our Bridge Meadows in Redmond opens. That's actually going to be fall of 2021. And my dream, you guys, my vision, and I invite you to dream along with me about a Bridge Meadows in Bend, and a Bridge Meadows in Sisters, and a Bridge Meadows. I mean, the need for this sort of community is everywhere, and it's not going away. And we've found more out today about those statistics and the need for a community like this. I will wrap up here. The next slide I think is worth mentioning. This is a documentary that was created last year, and it's featured on Amazon Prime. I really encourage you to watch it. 9 national nonprofits were recognized. So again, not in the state of Oregon, but nationally, they chose 9 nonprofits who were considered to be the antidote of an issue or a complex problem in their society, such as what we're talking about today. The questions they ask is if there was ever a time for understanding, if there was ever a time for compassion, if there was ever a time for decency and for kindness, it is now. It is right now. And Bridge Meadows was chosen, one of 9 that was chosen to be featured in this documentary because they offer such a phenomenal solution, not just for elders, but for all 3 generations. And I'm just so proud to be able to partner with them and tell you more about them today. And I'll wrap up with the next and final slide. You've heard already that I have 3 young children. They are full of joy and wonder and curiosity. And I'm blessed to have amazing grandparents, their grandparents, my parents, who have the gift of time and experience and wisdom. I personally take it very seriously, this task to create a culture in our own family where they can do life together. And imagine if that happened everywhere. What if there was a place where the hallways were wide, not just for wheelchairs, but for strollers? What if there was a place where those who are aging can find purpose, relevance, and the value that they deserve? What if our most vulnerable populations, our foster children, their adoptive families, and the elders of our community could do life together in a way that would restore dignity to all parties? Welcome home to Bridge Meadows. Thank you so much for your time. I encourage you to look into more information as we are coming to you soon in Redmond. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Heather. That was a great presentation. That is just so exciting to be featured on a national program like that. And your model is just so brave and creative. So thank you. You're going to make a difference in a lot of lives, I'm sure. We've got we're going to run over just a little bit past 1 o'clock because we started so late, but we're going to try and wrap it up as efficiently as we can. To do that wrap up, we have somebody everybody knows. Betsy Werner is going to be our next speaker, and she's going to wrap it all together into what maybe the most important thing is. What does it mean to be old? What's your purpose? So Betsy is the right person to talk about that. She believes in the power of connecting people with each other to build community. She's co-founder and volunteer with Community Conversations, bringing a diverse number of community members together to discuss community issues and build understanding. And she is the co-founder and volunteer with Volunteer Central Oregon, which links volunteers with 200 organizations serving all of our communities. She holds an MA in teaching from Harvard University and a PhD in guidance and counseling from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And you got about 5 minutes, Betsy, so wow us. You usually do. That shouldn't be a challenge.
Thank you, Scott. I did unmute myself.
You're good to go.
Okay, I've got to get this out of my way. It's really good to talk with you all. My purpose is to talk about purpose. And can't you feel the sense of purpose in all our presenters today? It's been wonderful. Thank you. My friend Albert Wright wakes up each morning saying this: I know the world is in turmoil, but I'm going to get up and make something positive happen today. Other than that, I'm going to have a good day. So what about purpose? Research shows that on the average, we live longer, we maintain our strength and health and independence longer if we have a sense of purpose. And why? Well, rather than drifting to the edge of aging, when we have a sense of purpose, we feel as if we're in the center of things. We feel connected. And Heather talked about how we humans are created for connection. We feel significant. We are interested and we live fully. Our lives flourish. So my purpose is to tell you about my purpose journey as an example of aging with purpose. When I retired, I moved to Bend at the request of one of my daughters who lives here, became involved with the community immediately, and therefore felt as if Bend was my home very quickly. As time went on, I actually had many purposes. I know that most of us feel not a lack of purpose, but we have too many purposes going on. So one night I was sort of lying awake thinking, oh my gosh, I have no compass. And the next morning, I woke up with this slide in my mind. This is my purpose compass that I've been working on ever since in the last few weeks. At the top, of course, is my family, particularly my daughters. They are my North Star. And as you all know, when we go hiking, if we know where north is, then we know where the other directions are. At south is my foundation, which includes music, nature, God. To the west, I have fun. For example, when I'm playing tennis, I am full of purpose. And to the right is my focus of work. So I'm working as a volunteer, and it brings enormous purpose to my life. My focus is community building. So how did I find my community building purpose? over time, I asked 3 questions of myself. What do I love doing? What do I love being in the middle of? And what do I believe in? What I love doing is projects. And what I love being in the middle of is people. And what I believe in is community. And when you put those 3 together, I've been involved in community building projects with people, always collaborating with other people with these projects. So, for example, community conversations where we bring people together to talk about community issues. And Volunteer Central Oregon, which I co-founded, and which is our regional volunteer center, bringing people who want to volunteer together with community organizations that need volunteers. And we found that with volunteering, there are so many benefits for people of all ages. For example, mental health, by exercising our minds while we're volunteering, connecting us with friends and with community. And most important, it builds hope over despair. When we send out the resources to everyone who's on this forum, it'll include the Volunteer Central Oregon website. So you will be able to go on that and connect with volunteer opportunities that really interest you, whatever your age. It is up to each of us, I want to say in closing, it is up to each of us to make our purpose choices as we age. And it is up to all of us to make choices at both the individual and the community level so that the elders in our community live lives full of purpose. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Betsy. And we're going to go ahead today and omit the Q&A section. As much fun as that would be, we've taken as much time as we can. You've heard some good things today, and we want you to think back a little bit about those. Susan gave us a great overview of the demographics of our community and where the senior population is and how it fits in and how much bigger it's becoming, and the need for us to start thinking about a senior-friendly community. We're already behind on that, and we need to get even further ahead of it as the demographic wave approaches. Of course, we heard from Toni that this isn't something that we need to sit around and wait for somebody else to do. If you see a problem, fix it. And that's exactly what Toni and her crew did to make a difference in the lives of a lot of people and sisters. We need more spark plugs, so consider being a spark plug there. Speaking of spark plugs, Heather's more like an explosion than a spark plug. We certainly are impressed by the Meadows opportunity. That is thinking big scale. Central Oregon has never suffered from a lack of thinking big scale. So here's one more opportunity, one more example of it. And there's plenty more opportunities out there. So we hope you'll embrace it. And then of course, the sense of purpose that Betsy mentioned. We all need a purpose. We apparently need a purpose more as we get older and we leave our old purposes behind. But Betsy is certainly an inspirational figure in how to find a new and exciting and almost overwhelming purpose sometimes, given how big she thinks. So I'd like to take today and just thank all of our speakers who took time out of their schedules to participate. I'd specifically like to thank Kathy Schroeder and Daisy Lehman and the other program members who helped out with our program today. I do not want to leave today without thanking our tech crew. This has not been your most fun day. You deserve a really cool afternoon given what you've been through, but we made it through to the end and we thank you for your support. If you enjoyed today's forum, you're encouraged to become a member of City Club. You can join, you can also become a sponsor of City Club. More information at cityclubco.org. And next month's forum is going to be an annual regional program. It'll be facilitated by Tammy Bainey, the Executive Director of COIC, Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. And she will have the city managers of Bend, Redmond, Lapine, Madras, Sisters, and Prineville to discuss issues in Central Oregon that have been impacted by a year under COVID-19. Those include housing, public health, homelessness, and how much stimulus money has been directed into our region. So it should be a very big picture look back at what has been an awfully weird year for everybody. To hear more about this, please be here next month. The May Forum is at noon on May 20th. There's also an upcoming May election. You're all encouraged to participate in that as active members of the community. City Club has partnered with the League of Women Voters in Deschutes County to bring a series of candidate forums for positions on the Oregon ballot for the May election. Those online forums are free to the public. Check out cityclubco.org for more information and learn about how you're going to be casting your ballot and for whom. Thank you for watching, and please continue to cultivate those community conversations and issues that connect us all to build a stronger community. We're about 10 minutes after the hour, and we just thank you for your time, and thank you again to everybody who made this possible. Have a great afternoon in Central Oregon.